ho! Here now, this may sound a bit embarrassing, but I was just about to contemplate whether or not to turn on my physical games into digital games. I was about to do this using my 580-step process: convenience, preservation, how good it is for the consumer's wallet, how good it is for the producer's wallet, and most importantly, WOIP. This has worked for every decision in my life so far. As you can see, there's nothing wrong with me. So we might as well dive into this decision-making process.
Physical media, it's always been there from the very start, but in the last 20 years, digital media has been creeping up, devouring every form of entertainment, from movies to music. By 2030, the World Cup will be played in FIFA. Video games have been a bit more stubborn to convert to digital. I noticed that most hardcore players that don't play on PC, plus a few other exceptions, like to have a visible collection, while casuals seem to prefer digital, as they'll probably only buy a few games a year, and for parents especially, as it means they don't have to remember what console their kids have, and can just buy games straight off the console without having to worry. In other words, laziness, which just so happens to be another name for our first round, so 1 point to digital. Now, while I hate digital games and throw any that I get straight in the bin, I can't ignore the convenience of just being able to turn on the console, navigate the digital store and download a game instead of going to the shop and buying one or having it shipped to your house. You can even have the game pre-downloaded so you can play the game as soon as it comes out, which is great too. Though, someone could argue of how you still have to wait for the game to download digitally, but most of the time it's quicker than going to the shop. Preservation is very important for entertainment media, as it allows people to experience that type of media from a different time. So with a disc being susceptible to disc rot and the cartridge will just stop working one day, it would seem that the point would go towards digital, as there's nothing to be broken, but a game can be taken off the digital store at any time, leaving it to only be playable to those who had previously bought the game. This happened before with games like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and the Wii Shop Channel's Closer. Though most of these games are backed up online, there's no longer an official way to play them, but unless somebody intentionally destroys every copy of a physical game, and as much as I want that to happen to Banjo, Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, it'll never happen. There will always be at least one physical copy of the game that still works, which is a real shame, so this round is won by physical. A newly released game usually costs around 50 quid, and after a while the price will usually drop. With a physical one, once you finish it, you can trade it in for a bit of money. With a digital game, you're stuck with it. With a physical game, you can buy it cheaper second hand. With a digital game, you have to pay full price for it, unless it's currently on sale or on Steam, but that's only temporarily. Though a digital game can be sold at a cheaper price because the company doesn't have to worry about manufacturing costs. You also technically don't own a game that you buy digitally, you own a license to run the game. If you lose connection to your account, you'll have to buy the game all over again. With a physical one, you own the game and can do whatever you want with it. You could do this, not this. Physical games are much more in favour of the consumer, giving the second round to physical. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, which one's better for the companies? Well, with a physical release, all these people have to get a share of the cut, but with a digital release, the only other person you have to pay money to is whoever owns the platform you're selling the game on. Plus, with a physical release, someone could buy a game secondhand, meaning you get none of the profit from that sale. With a digital copy, the game can't be resold, giving this round to digital. Digital versus physical. In the end, it mostly just comes down to personal preference. I personally mostly only pick up digital games if they're digital only or had a limited physical release, though it's pretty obvious why companies are pushing towards an all digital, as it benefits them much more. PC games are already pretty much digital only, and the PS5 is coming out with a digital only model too. However, there will always be a market for physical games, and at the very least, Nintendo will never stop making physical games. They haven't even stopped making cartridge games.
Well, that was dreadful. I still haven't been able to make the decision of whether or not to turn on my physical games into digital games because it came down to a draw. But, you see, that's where I got you with my final category. WOIP. Whatever one I prefer. It's physical. Stop buying digital, dummies.